Okay, let's start again after the break. Questions, comments? Thank you so much, Nicolaus, for a horrifying and yet inspiring lecture on the status of free speech in Germany. Tom, and please state your name.
Tom Carroll is my name. I'm surprised that the EU is so concerned about the state of democracy in Hungary and in Poland. But the German conditions, nobody mentioned.
Yeah, that's exactly what I criticized very often. They are only concerned about the state of affairs in countries that are allegedly conservative. And now, now we all know that Mr. Tusk, the new Prime Minister of Poland, has raided the headquarter of the public broadcasting service and detained the editor-in-chief and so on. And the EU government doesn't care. I was actually this useless monitoring group once paid a visit to Slovenia while there was still a conservative government, and we didn't find anything. Yet still, in the press conference after this has happened, the chairwoman, I spoke to, she said, "Yeah, we didn't find anything," and even the journalist said here that we interviewed said everything is fine, but of course we will keep on our monitoring. And I told her that is impossible. This is a smearing campaign you're running here. If we didn't find anything, and you say, but nevertheless, we pretend that there should be something that is not right. While in other countries, journalists get killed, like in Malta or in Slovakia, and no one gives a damn. And of course we have many other. Spain is from a rule of law point of view is nightmarish at the moment. And nothing is done because it's a leftist government. So there's an absolutely clear bias. The EU is a leftist organization, and so people who are governments who behave properly, get all the support, and governments who speak out freely what they think about the EU and what the deficits and the corruption and all this is within the EU, they get punished. And this is all, it's all made by money. If you're not, and that is the reason why one should really try to take as much money as possible away from the EU. Because this is a pure means of blackmailing.
What are the Gallup polls for AfD Deutschland for the moment? First question. Second, what about the attacks on AfD on its right to exist, which we have read about in Danish newspapers?
Okay, this is the first question. I can answer by relying on a website. So at the moment, on a federal level, Christian Democrats roughly 30%, then AfD, second biggest party, 18.4%, Social Democrats 15%, Greens 13%, 14%, Bündnis Sarah Wagenknecht, the left extreme party, 6%, Social Liberals 4%, Die Linke 3%. That is good, and that's it. So, but of course, more interesting is the state of affairs at the moment in the three states states within Germany: Thuringia, Saxony, and Brandenburg, which will see state elections in September. And there we are between 30 and almost 40%. And the Social Democrats have difficulties in entering the parliament again. which of course for the party that is ruling at the moment, the government that is governing the government, it is not a compliment. And and that will actually be a major, probably a watershed. And that is exactly why now I come to a second question, now we have the discussion on whether or not the AfD should be forbidden. I think this is the last straw, because they think they have realized that they can't find any political answer, because as long as they don't tackle the migration problem, there won't be any political answer. Of course you can say time and again, these people are fascists, these people are racist and so, but people see that the real racism comes from probably the migrants who consider Germans as, assholes and pig eaters and so on and so on. And the problems won't go away. Actually, they raise every day. And so, but if you for instance, if you don't find an answer as the Danish Social Democrats have found, more or less, then AfD will grow and grow and grow, because more and more people are completely fed up that the traffic light government is doing nothing against illegal migration. And I think the attempt to forbid the party is exactly due to this, that the ruling parties have realized, okay, if we give a political answer, meaning we stop migration and get rid of all the illegal migrants who are already living in Germany, that will destroy our base, because then our base will say, we don't, you are now the fascists. And so they can't do this. So their only solution is, let's forbid the party who is asking for that.
Yeah, Sonntag.
My name is Paul Nilsson from Sweden. We have similar problems, Germany and Sweden, with mass immigration, multiculturalism and so on. But you said something about Berlin. About Berlin.
Yes.
An organization where people can inform the authority what political views neighbor have.
Mm-hmm.
This is scary.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds about the former Stasi.
Yes, so of course.
Yes. And I have two questions here, two issues. Number one, is this okay under the German constitution to have like the former Stasi? It's one question. The second question is, what are the arguments that political parties want to ban alternative for Germany? Is it only because you criticize migration?
Okay. The first, my answer, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not. Many other experts, former constitutional judges from the Constitutional Court, have already said that the Berliner Register is clearly unconstitutional. Clearly, and yeah, it's GDR, it's Stasi, yes, but our media doesn't give a damn, because they always think, it doesn't hurt me, and it's only against right extremists, and so. But sooner or later they will find out that they might themselves get into the focus of those registers, and then it's bad. Actually, that's now a very juridical, technical thing. Why the Alternative for Deutschland is facing this attempt to kick us out. Till 2005 or so, the German citizenship was based on having German ancestors. And so we didn't have this American way of defining citizenship. If you are born in the States, you are an American citizen. We didn't have this, so if someone was born and his mother and his father were Turkish, she or he wasn't automatically German. German citizenship was only given to people who had some roots within the German society. That, for instance, enabled enabled all the Russians of German origin to come to Germany because they had, German grandfathers and so they could immediately apply for German citizenship. This was changed under the government, foolishly changed under the government of Schröder and Joschka Fischer, and now we have some kind of double citizenship, or in our constitution in Article 116 it says it's either a German is either someone who has German ancestors, or it's said in a different way, or is born here, and as is born in Germany. And now, for some odd reason, the Verfassungsschutz claims that if you are in favor of what was the legal state of affairs till 2005, if you are in favor to return to this old German law of citizenship, you are a hazard to the constitutional rights of immigrants. And that is, and they claim that this is unconstitutional, and that is that is completely crazy, because that means that the folk, or the nation doesn't, let's say the ethnical background of a nation doesn't play any role anymore. At the same moment, we have in the constitutions of the state and of the federal constitution, we accept that there are groups, for instance, the Danes in Schleswig-Holstein, or the Sorbs, and so we accept that there are groups that are defined by their ethnical glue or roots, and so we say, yeah, in their case it's okay, but when we apply the same rules to the Germans, that's what the intelligence service says. That's okay when it's about the Germans or the Danes that live in Germany. But if you apply this to the Germans, then it's unconstitutional. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's very difficult to understand, and I think it's totally ridiculous. But of course, it's really difficult to explain, and for the let's say the normal guy on the street, it's only there is the secret service, the intelligence service has something against AfD, and AfD might be unconstitutional, and that is pure smear campaign. Okay.
Ja, så det er dig.
What do you think would happen if they ban the AfD? How would people react?
I don't know. I actually I can't see into the future. But I mean, what we have, the problems won't go away. So what will happen? I don't know. Probably another party will be founded within a few days. I mean, the Vlaams Belang in Belgium, they were facing the same problems. They were forbidden, and then they founded a new party on the very next day, and started again and exchanged the leaders, and so the intelligence service couldn't claim that this is the same party, just in a different disguise. So I don't know what is happening, but it's a tough fight, but I can't tell.
You talked about moving to Austria or Switzerland. Austria just banned the Generation Identitaire, and took away their bank account, and also the bank account of the leading members.
Zena.
And now one of them fled to Switzerland, Martin. Yeah, they just kicked him out. So they couldn't be safe countries to move to?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I don't support. I mean, I haven't read many of the stuff that Mr. Zellner says and has written and so on and so on. I'm really, when it comes to freedom of speech, I'm very liberal, and I think, you know, let's say I'm more in favor of the American system. You know, let them say whatever they like, and I mean, whoever has grown up can make up his own mind, and you know, read the books of Martin Zellner, and then you can decide by yourself whether he's right or he's not. But what is happening to Zellner is, I think, it's a scandal, and I wouldn't be too surprised if it's again about money and pleasing the EU, and of course smearing FPÖ probably. Although FPÖ never had any ties with Zellner, they were always very strict when it came to Zellner. So I don't know, but I think one should not be too hysterical about you know, political opinions of a very, very tiny group of I don't know how many people are following this group, but a few hundred probably. Yeah, okay, you have to live with that. I mean, there are much more left extreme people than probably in Germany than probably are following Martin Zellner. So I think this is all a stage scandal made up.
Sonntag.
Yep. I would like to ask you if do you find any differences between the former GDR and the West Germany in freedom of speech?
No. Not anymore. Yeah, it's of course you don't get immediately. I mean, in the GDR, the whole press was subject to censorship, and you couldn't publish anything without prior consent of the, I don't know, Ministry for Truth or whatever it was called, you know. But we are getting closer and closer to this, and so it's today. It's a kind of self-censorship. It's not so much, you know, pressure from the state, but it's pressure from the peer group. And if you dare to say something that doesn't fit into the mainstream opinion, you're immediately socially excluded, and that's the big thing. I don't know why this is the case, and I already said this once today. It's very strange that the society we live in today is very much formed by the generation 68, and those generation was always in favor for. They were communists and so, but they always were in favor of individualism and, you know, and being yourself, you know. What was this? Selbstverwirklichung, you know, and so on and so on. And for some odd reason, you know, the kids of this this generation have become swarm fish. And that's another strange thing, you know, that the young people in Germany vote green. I mean, I would have voted for many parties, but never for the party that my father voted for, you know. And today we have green parents or children of parents who are voters of the Greens, and the children, you know, vote green as well. That is very strange. You know? So I don't know, but. No, as I said, the state of affairs when it comes to freedom of speech in Germany is deplorable.
Anders?
My name is Anders. I'm the video guy and board member of Free Press Society.
There's been a lot of talk here in Denmark about the GDPR rules about different societies and organizations not being able to, or at least having to be very careful with what they register about members. How does these laws in the European community sit with this whole political registration? It seems so clearly illegal to register people for their political views when you can't even have addresses. You have to be very careful how to keep addresses.
Okay, we won't be finished by 3 in the morning. We need another 5 days to explain all the nonsense that comes from the dangerous nonsense. Nonsense is not the right word, but the anti-constitutional attacks carried out by the EU. No, that is another ridiculously dangerous thing, and but we are seeing this left, right, and center. The last 5 years were full of really scary EU legislation, and that is another thing, and these laws come left, right, and center, and the problem is that it is like Juncker, the former commissioner of the EU, once said. We simply do something and then we wait a while, and if there's no political outcry, then we keep on going. And that's exactly it. They simply and the other problem is that Brussels is too far away from the media. And today, as most of the media, in former days, media lived on the ads. Job ads, cars, housing, and so on and so on. This is all gone, and the newspapers and so have, apart from, let's say, Wall Street Journal and some specialized papers, have not found a business concept that brings back the old profits. And only the old profits made it possible that they could afford correspondents that lived in Rome and Paris and London and Brussels. Today there's only one magazine in Brussels, or one paper, Politico, but you hardly find any. Some papers still have correspondence there, but you can't compare this with the 80s, or the 70s, the 80s, and so the politicians that do do their jobs in Europe can do so, and especially the Commission can do so without being monitored by media, and that is the biggest problem. If you don't have checks, people roam freely.
My idea was that could you perhaps use the GDPR rules against this kind of political registration, to use the EU laws against Bundesverfassung?
Yeah, but that is now really a tricky question for lawyers. Maybe yes, but this is really a very, very, very specific question, and I wouldn't dare to really go into details without really seeing what could be so unconstitutional that you really have chances to attack that.
You are among people in Denmark, foreigners who love the real German culture, and the age of all of us here are loving the real Germany. You are a German and you love the real Germany. Mm-hmm. And why do you leave the country where your duty is?
Good question. So as I said, I was my car was burned down and all this, and it's not very nice to live there. But and as I said, I had the feeling that my fellow citizens the Germans are more and more on, becoming totalitarian as well. The society turned into, and then yes, but this is now very personal. I also felt a bit unhappy in a country that, that is, we had a survey a year ago or so, and 90% of the Germans said we would not defend our country by taking up guns. We wouldn't defend our country if we have an invasion. I mean, this was, I think this question was posed after the invasion of Ukraine. So some paper asked some polling institute, how is the situation in Germany, and that was, of course, another eye opener. I mean, why? That is really a philosophical question. How can you defend a country when 90% of its inhabitants say we don't want to defend it? I mean, this is really crazy. Huh?
You can change them.
I hope so. But it's. I think you should. We have to change it. But first of all, you have to change the educational system and the universities and so on. Everything is really so. Everything is in a mess at the moment. And
it demands democracy, and you haven't got democracy in Germany.
I haven't what? I haven't?
Democracy needs to discussion, and you have no discussion, you have no democracy.
Yeah, true. But as I said, you're right. Yeah, but you can't. If people don't want to discuss, the state. The affair of, or the state of affairs, then it's difficult. But you can also work for your country from abroad. But if it gets too dangerous, you shouldn't risk everything just for people who don't give a damn about Germany. That is a crazy thing. We should. I mean, I always say. I mean, I had a lot of discussions in schools, and I always said the pupils who were sitting there. I don't have to fight for this country. It's your future. It's not me. I in 10 or in 20 years time or so, I might be gone. Probably in 30 years time, but it's in 30 years time. You are something like 50, and in 20 years' time, you are 40 or so, and it is your future. You should be. Think about, and if this government is taking all the chances from you, you shouldn't vote for them. Yeah?
Sören Kjærsgaard. Wenn ich meine Frage in Deutsch stellen darf, spreche ich besser als Englisch. Ich möchte fragen, wenn man die AfD verbieten möchte, dann muss man wohl konkrete Klagepunkte haben. Welche?
Did everyone understand the question?
Yes.
Okay. As I said, it's it's mainly about whether we are following the so-called Volkstums citizenship or not, and then of course the Verfassungsschutz, the intelligence service, claims that some remarks by some of our members are debatable. Yes, that's true. We have many remarks from leftist groups and so which are debatable as well, but. There you have the problem, and that is up to the judges, whether some remark of some backbencher is really representative for the party, and so it's I think this procedure will probably take some time, because even if the court decides in favor of the intelligence service. Of course, we will appeal against this verdict, and so it can take another few years. I don't know.
Margrethe Horsman, may I remain seated? I've got a
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to point out that sometimes the fight against the right does have some very absurd traits. My grandchildren went to a kita in Prenzlauer Berg until a year ago. Schweinefleischfreie Kindertagesstätte. There were Muslims, but it had to be. And then there was this uproar from some central point that you had to keep out. You had to keep looking out for children of right parents. You should, and the marks were that the boys were crew-cut and wore Viking helmets. The girls had long plaits, long lights hair.
Yes, exactly. I know that.
Volkstümliche.
Yeah, I know that.
And this, that was absurd. It was published. It was over. It became a debating point in a parents' meeting. But this is absurd. My two children who went to this kita, they had long light hair and coats.
See?
Yeah.
Nazis.
Yeah, Nazis. They were not thrown out. They were rather sensible in this kita. They were the Pädagogin in hießen Mandy und Doreen, and they were old GDR ladies, and they could see Stasi methods when they met them. So nothing happened. But I thought this is absurd. Isn't it absurd?
Yes, of course. I mean, this was actually there were leaflets handed out in not only in Berlin but in other states as well, saying, if children appear orderly dressed, in kita or at school, that is a bad sign. And you should have a close look at those, because they might be the children of right extreme parents. Yeah, it's somewhere between snitching and hysteria, and but it is really scary. Yeah. What am I supposed to say? I mean, I think that we are really at the brink of becoming a horror state, and or we are actually reached it already. But people are willing to support this. That is the interesting thing, Even people who have normally nothing to do with politics, and they say, "Oh, we are not interested in so." But when it then comes to AfD, they all, oh yes, and I think the many governments have found out, and the Federal Interior Ministry has once written a piece of, or let's say, a piece of strategy, and that said, COVID is ideal to inflict fear in people. And they very openly said so, and that we can later use for instance, in climate, in the climate policy. And if you inflict fear, people will follow us, and that's exactly what is that's exactly the strategy now. And one fear that the people are now having is fear that Nazis could take over and suppress everyone, and set up concentration camps, and all that, and that AfD is actually the, let's say, the chiffre for this fascist rollback.
Yes, I've heard that the AfD and the Nazis want to take over the Waldorf schools.
Yes, of course. Oh, that's plan B.
Ja. Så tak.
Jeg hedder Karin Heltrup. I would like to ask you about your work in the European Parliament. If the groups from other countries, now we talk about Germany, but whether you have some strength through cooperating with other members of the European Parliament that you share your viewpoints with?
Yes, there are many. I mean, the EU has this totally absurd and system of groups or factions, and they have to consist of members, EU members from 7 different countries. They must, the group must be a minimum of 25 deputies from at least 7 different countries. And if you form such a group, you get a lot of money. And every deputy, for instance, gets roughly 70,000 euros per year that he can spend on all kinds of projects, and so on and so on. So, and if you don't have, if you're not a member of such a group, you only have, let's say, a third or 30 or 50% of this amount. So everyone, of course, is trying to be a member of such a group, these groups are actually very artificial because, for instance, we are in the group with the Rassemblement National, Marine Le Pen, and with the FPÖ from Austria, and with Lega from Italy, and so on and so on. And of course, we are, when it comes to migration, we all share the same point of view. And of course, when it comes to, same goes for the nation state. We think the nation state is the cradle of democracy, and democracy is only possible in a nation state and not, in a super state or an imperium like an empire like the EU calls themselves. But of course, when it comes to, let's say, for instance, financial issues and how much money should be spent on certain issues, on agriculture and on this and on that, we have a totally different point of view from the French, or from the Italians, or from the Spanish and so. And so it is a very artificial thing, and I wouldn't say we are. But this is on, let's say, this is along the lines of the conservative parties, because we all say each state should do what is best for their people, and so it is somehow it's a consequence of this that we grant every state the right to decide what is in their people's best interest, and but if it weren't for these groups, we wouldn't form a coalition with them, and so same goes for, there are 2 conservative groups. One is ID, AfD belongs to the ID, and then is ECR, the European Conservatives and Reformers. And for instance, Meloni is a member of, the Fratelli d'Italia is a member of the ECR. Same goes for Vox, the Spanish party, and for the Peace Party from Poland, and so on. And the Swedish Democrats are there. But I mean, I get along very well with Charlie Weimers, a Swedish a member of the Swedish Democrats. And so, let's say when it comes to migration, and so you always have both groups united. But of course, when it comes to fishery and so, certainly the Swedes and the Spanish have a different point of views than the Austrians, because the Austrians, it is known that they have very little, they don't really border to any there are difference of interest, but we think the main threat to Europe is migration. That is the biggest issue by far. And wokeness, of course, wokeness and migration, but this is all, let's say, the same, or there's a different sides of the same coin is probably the wrong word here, but okay. And if we can team up, when it comes to migration, a lot is already won.
It's the money.
That's yes.
So that was the last question. Thank you for asking so many intelligent questions, but most of all, thank you to Nicolaus Fest.
It was a pleasure.
So, just for you, especially me.
I really love that, because when I was working for BILD, we had a fierce debate about this, and I said that was in 2006, 7 or so. And I said we have to. Yeah, I think in 5 it was published. But then the so-called scandal was a bit later, a year or 2 years later, because before that, not even the Muslims in Denmark had realized that these things were published. And then, of course, we had a heated discussion within BILD whether we should publish this or not. And I said, of course, we have to do this to defend freedom of expression and to defend Vestergaard and to show solidarity to the paper which had published it. But there were so many people at BILD who said, "Oh no, we can't do this." And then there were always these wonderful lies that they said, "Yeah, of course we would publish it, but it's quality-wise, it's not really good." all these fake arguments, and so I'm very happy to have this, because it reminds me not only of this discussion, but much more of that sometimes you have to pay for speaking out in defense of the freedom of speech. But it's worthwhile, because otherwise we can say goodbye to our society and to democracy and everything that makes our society worthwhile.